Tops drops, jersey drops, schedule drops. Cody and I take a look at the 2023 NFL schedule for the Houston Texans, and we discuss our anticipated games.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily Houston Texans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Friday episode of the Locked On Texan podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And shout out to our everydayers who check us out Monday through Friday on all of the major podcasting platforms, including Apple and Google Podcasts and Amazon Music, but wherever you get your podcasts, along with YouTube as well. Make sure you follow the Locked On Texan podcast, subscribe on YouTube. I am John, some sports guy Hickman, and of course, joined to the left of me, I don't know if you guys can see it, but joining the show as always, of course, is Cody Davis, Houston's own for the Rockets and the Houston Texan credential media member, also writing for Sports Illustrated. Today, we have to discuss the schedule drop, the jersey drops, and then we'll get into some news to close out today's show. But Cody, the Houston Texans the rest of the NFL dropped their schedule late Thursday night, along with the Texans dropping their social media video. By the way, shout out to the Titans.
The Titans. That was like an SNL skit.
I love the Titans. I love the Jaguars, actually. They did there's a writer strike going on right now in America, but they did the script. The NFL is a script theory, and so they took that and ran wild with it. Love that skit. Did not necessarily love Houston's, and Houston has been on fire lately with social media, honestly, with their social media page and campaigns that they've been running. Did not necessarily like it. I thought that the beginning was great for the city of Houston, but it tailed off really bad right after that. But when we look at the schedule,
I can see that.
When we look at the schedule, the Texans have 15 noon games, 1 3 o'clock game, 1 to be determined game. That's week 18 versus the Colts. No primetime game for the Houston Texans. I have a problem with that, and I'll tell you why. And then we have several key games. The Browns on Christmas Eve, so maybe Christmas can come early for Houston this year. The Panthers on October 29th. Cardinals. As you guys know, the Houston Texans traded with the Cardinals to get the number 3 overall pick. That's going down on November 19th. Of course, the Week 18 matchup with the Falcons on the October 8th date, which is the, just the Falcons. I don't know. So when we look at the Houston Texans schedule, Cody, what are your thoughts and takeaways? I know we're not playing no football as of yet. A lot of this is just us talking for content, but I think it is important. And I'll tell you why I didn't like Houston not getting a primetime game. But what are your thoughts and takeaways?
That this is definitely going to be a season to where development is going to be the number one factor. This schedule, I'm looking at it more so breaking it up into sections. The first 3 to 4 weeks, and this is all determining whether or not CJ Stroud is going to be the starting quarterback. So when I say development, those first couple of weeks when you got to play against the Baltimore Ravens, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Atlanta Falcons, which I do believe is going to be a very entertaining game because you're going to have 2 young quarterbacks going head to head. Both franchises kind of mirror each other. They have a young and explosive offense, or a young offense that can be explosive if given the right opportunity, a defense that's respectable on both sides. And I think that game is really going to come down to which team is going to be able to establish the run. Because you got Bijan Robinson in Atlanta. And, of course, down here in the city of Houston, you got Dameon Pierce. So I think that's going to be the key matchup in Week 5. And then you have the New Orleans Saints. So those first 6 games prior to the bye week is going to be CJ getting his feel. You know, who's going to step up, like we've been talking about, to be this team's number one wide receiver, but most importantly, how is DeMeco Ryans going to fare in those first couple of weeks as the head coach? Not just the defensive coordinator, as the head coach. Same thing with Bobby Slowick, not just the quarterback coach or the passing game coordinator. How is he going to fare as this team's offensive coordinator? What are we going to see different that we did not see under Lovie Smith, especially on the defensive side of the ball, especially when you take a look at your sophomore prodigies in Jalen Petrie and Derek Stingley Jr. After the
Christian
bye
Harris
week,
too, by the way.
yeah, and Christian. Well, Christian Harris, because he missed half of last season, I'm not going to say I consider this his rookie year, but I don't. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Christian Harris, I'm going to keep it. Like I say, even though he missed half of the rookie season, he did end off last season very, very good. After the bye week, that is when I would expect the Houston Texans to win most of their games, or at least to win a handful of their games that I got them winning for this upcoming season, which I have around 5 to possibly 6 games. The most anticipated game of the season right out the bye, the Carolina Panthers, CJ versus Bryce. That's going to be fun. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, at this point in the season, that got to be where Tampa Bay say, you know what? Let's hit the reset button on this franchise. Let's go through a full out rebuild. And the week 14 match against the New York Jets, that is going to be the game where we're going to say whether or not this team took a step forward in their development or it got stagnant. Because yes, the
Robert
New York
Saleh
Jets
versus DeMeco Ryans as well. Like
yeah. That too. And I was going to get to
that
because I understand that the New York Jets had a pretty good season last year. There's a lot of expectations. You add in a future Hall of Famer, 4-time MVP Aaron Rodgers, but you always know that there's that one team that come into the season with a lot of expectations, but they don't live up to those expectations, and a lot of times they record a lot of questionable games where you say, how did this team win? I think that's going to be that game for the New York Jets, and I also think that team is going to be the Houston Texans. That is where we're going to see CJ take his step as a rookie quarterback. That is when we're going to see, you know what? This is your number one wide receiver. This is when we're going to see, you know what? This second year class is definitely a foundational piece. And like you mentioned, John, the one matchup I think everybody should have their eyes on, the coaching battle between Robert Saleh and DeMeco Ryans. And of course, what is it, week 16, if I'm not mistaken, against the Cleveland Browns?
Yeah.
You know, another welcome home, but not so welcome home present for Deshaun Watson. Those are my most anticipated games of the season, because if this season is about development, those are the games that I'm looking at and saying, okay, here's who I want to see growth on everybody's part.
Yeah, you know what? And I hate doing it's way too early, man. I hate
I just threw it out there because I know people are wondering, you know, how many games you got this team? That's why I say 5, maybe 6.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna hold on to say how many games I think they can win until we get around, training camp and preseason. But for Houston, they kick off this season against a team that just gave a quarterback pretty much everything he was looking for. Then in the offseason, they signed Odell, went out and got Zay Flowers. And so I think coming out of the gate, right, looking at that game against the Baltimore Ravens in week 1, that's going to be difficult. And I think that there are some games on this schedule that I think will be kind of difficult for Houston in year 1 under DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud. I do, however, have a beef with the NFL. Now, as my boy E. Field put it yesterday when I made this tweet, like the attendance numbers for the Houston Texans weren't great last year. The team overall was not great last year. And I understand that. However, NFL, this was a perfect opportunity in week 8 to have the number 1, the number 2, and the number 3 overall picks in one game with 2 rookie quarterbacks highlighting that game. This was a perfect opportunity. When I look at the Colts, maybe week 2, but really maybe week 18 to
No,
end
week
off
2
the
is too
dependent.
early. Week
Too
week
early, of
18
course.
maybe.
Week 18 probably would have been perfect when you would have had the number 2, the number 3, and the number 4 overall picks featured in one game. Again, 2 quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks highlighted in that game. And I thought that was an opportunity that the NFL missed. And then I look at the Colts having a new coach with Shane Steichen, new coach, and the head coach, and DeMeco Ryans. And so just a couple of ball drops, in my opinion. Even when we look at week 8 game against the Carolina Panthers, Frank Wright is up there in Carolina. So he's a new head coach for the Panthers. DeMeco Ryans is a new head coach for the Houston Texans. A lot of storylines between those two games. I just think that was a perfect opportunity missed by the NFL, honestly. But when I look at the schedule, I think this is a perfect schedule for a young team with a lot of new faces to have ups and downs to build adversity throughout the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, kicking it off week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens, ending off week 18 against your division rival with the Indianapolis Colts. And who knows how they're going to be fared and looked at towards the end of the year. Then you got the middle of the year run where Houston has 3 home games in a row: the Cardinals, the Jags, the Broncos. And y'all can say whatever y'all want to say about the Broncos as of last year, but I think that this is a different team this year. So they have a 3-game home stretch where I think that's a perfect opportunity for them to ride the wave, go out there, win a game, lose a game, right? The expectations aren't really for you to make the playoffs, though I do believe that this team can possibly win the AFC South. But there's a lot of good adversity for this team in their rookie year. The NFL has this team with the 3rd easiest schedule in the NFL based off of last year, probably because of the Arizona Cardinals, the Panthers, Titans, the Colts. Who else had a bad year last year? The Saints didn't all have a good year. So, again, this is an interesting schedule, not to be overlooked. The Texans will play the Saints twice this year because of preseason, and they will play the Miami Dolphins in a kickoff week 1 of preseason against the New England Patriots. If you're looking for a delicious snack but don't want all of the sugar and calories, then you need to give the best tasting protein bar on the market a try. Built Bar is covered in 100% real chocolate, have unbelievably amazing flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and cookies and cream. Also, only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, with a whopping 17 grams of protein. You can run into your local Sam's Club right now to grab a 13-bar box, or you can check it out in Walmart to grab a 4-bar box. Cookies and cream, double chocolate, coconut puff, whatever you want, it is available at Walmart. And for all of the specialty flavors, you can still check those out at built.com.
Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, to this Friday installment of Locked On Texans as we continue our discussion about the 2023 schedule. John, I do want to pick up where you left off about why the Houston Texans do not have a primetime game. I get it. They've been bad for the last, 2 to 3 seasons. The games that you pointed out, I kind of get why the NFL did not highlight those games as primetime games. The last time they did that for the number 1 pick as a quarterback and the number 2 pick as a quarterback were the Jacksonville Jaguars against the New York Jets, and that game was terrible. And then the last game of the season,
2 terrible coaches, by the way.
Yeah, 2 terrible.
Urban Meyer and
everything.
Adam Gase was Gase. Yeah,
Adam Gase was still like everything about that whole entire everything about that whole entire game was just terrible, and that's probably why they did not want to make that a primetime game. Week 18, everybody has a TBD on their schedule. Week 18 because those games are saved for playoff implications. Like, if this team win, that means that this team is out the playoffs and this team can sneak in, and those dramatic scenarios. So maybe, just maybe, if the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts are good enough, and maybe there's a wild card battle, they might get that Week 18 Sunday night game. Who knows? But I'm not surprised that the Texans did not get a primetime game this year. Maybe if they step their game up, which I expect they will, next year you'll definitely get those primetime game Sunday night or my favorite Monday Night Football.
Listen, man, I just think that to go back to that point, and I didn't get a chance to look at all of the primetime games, I'm not going to lie. But I just think that this is just a missed opportunity for storylines. And
Yeah.
like we joked about the Jacksonville Jaguars and their social media team putting out the NFL script writers. And I really did love that. But can't deny the NFL is all about storylines. Like, of course, you want to see great games. You want to see great matchups. You want to be in an arena that's full of electricity. But you also want storylines. Like, you want to hear going into the game, this player is playing his old team that traded him away. You want to hear that, right? So, like, in terms of history, I understand it. And the last time they put Houston on a primetime game, they fought well in the first half. The second half came out and it was pretty bad against the Philadelphia Eagles last season. But this is just great opportunity missed by the league, honestly, guys. And like, who wouldn't want to see prime time, 7 o'clock at night, whether the teams are bad to that point or not? But who wouldn't want to see why Bryce Young was going to be better in the NFL compared to CJ, or why Lovie Smith actually winning that Week 18 game last season was a blessing in disguise for Houston because they got the better overall quarterback. Who wouldn't want to see that? Who wouldn't want to see prime time? Because everybody doesn't get an opportunity to watch these games consistently. By the way, shout out to the league for giving Houston a lot of these noon games. That means we can watch the game, do the show quickly, and still have time for our Sunday night to watch the rest of the primetime games. But who wouldn't want to see whether or not Houston overtraded for Will Anderson in a primetime game? By the way, I am looking forward to the Arizona game. Arizona did a great job with putting Houston on their schedule for their social media release. They did the Texans logo and then the fair trade, the Drake song.
I like that.
Certified Lover Boy with the the pregnant ladies, and it was just like, what do you mean by that? But I'm a fan of storylines. I really am. I'm a fan of having an extra incentive of why I should watch a game going into that game. I also think the coach, like to go back to it, who would want to see if, and not in week 2, so maybe that week 18, playoff implications, we'll see how that plays out. But I would have loved to see, and for everybody to see in real time, why Anthony Richardson may have had the higher ceiling of all of the quarterbacks in a primetime game. So that's just my opinion, honestly. I can understand why the league will kind of look off the Texans, but I think there was a perfect opportunity for those NFL script writers to get in their writer's room and create an amazing story based off of the 2 players or the 3 players that would be featured in the game. Again, it would have been 1, 2, and 3 or 2, 3, and 4 in terms of draft picks. And I thought that could have been great for the Houston Texans and the league. Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers out there in the YouTube world. And shout out to everybody that's checking us out in their car rides while they're at work in their AirPods. Thank you for checking us out each and every day. Cody, you tagged me in something last night. We are recording this on Friday morning, so that's why you guys didn't get the normal 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock drop at night. But you tagged me in something. The Bulls, the Patriots. That was from the Titans. Like, the Titans killed it with their schedule release on social media, and they were interviewing random people. I think it was in Manhattan, New York, or something like that. Interviewing random people. That's how you know, like, there is a part of the world that doesn't know anything about the NFL.
Which is weird, man. Which, by the way, I know some of those people inside the Texans facility was like, oh, somebody called us the Patriots.
But they stopped the random lady on the street, showed that lady the Texan symbol, the logo. Yeah, she said the Bulls, Patriots, and it was this right here. I'll show you guys.
Bulls, Patriots. By the way, to understand how much these people did not know anything about football. They showed the Broncos logo, and it was like the Cowboys.
It was
And then
the
there was
Colts.
the Colts logo with
Colts.
the horseshoe. They was like the Cowboys,
Yeah.
the Cowboys.
I love
What's
that.
supposed to be the most recognizable brand in sports. Well, apparently it's not that recognizable, huh? Mm-hmm. Because if they showed a Y or a leprechaun or just a purple and gold colors, I bet you they get that. So apparently that star isn't the most recognizable in sports. I'm sorry.
Boom.
I'm sorry.
But I do love the NFL across the league. They are getting more creative in this new age of dropping these schedules. I think it's fun. The Texans hosted former Texan, Broncos, and Jets pass rusher Jacob Martin for a visit on Thursday, according to Aaron Wilson. Shout out to Aaron Wilson, friend of the show. He had 4 sacks and 5 for losses and 1 safety in 2021 in his final season with the Houston Texans. This move doesn't just something that you do. Maybe just another camp body. We'll see. If Jacob Martin comes in and he's better than I don't know Grenard or I'm not going to say that. I just think this is a camp signing, and if it does get done, it was just a visit. It may not even happen. But that is your Texan news and the jersey numbers. So Brown Chubby Bear on Twitter did a whole little thing. Area 51, you just got sacked by the Terminator or something like that for Will Anderson. And honestly, it stuck.
I like that.
I liked it. Like I loved it. I was like, you know what? I don't like this 51 on Will Anderson. Then he dropped that, and I was like, you know what? I do like that on Will Anderson. CJ Stroud got number 7 from Kaimi Fairbairn. I didn't see no other way that was going to happen. So he's going to be 7.
That. I love
Tank Dell is going to be 13.
Oh, here y'all go.
Started with the tops drops. Y'all see that in the corner. DJ Screw, the legend. 713 connection. You already know what it is. I can't wait to hear that in the stadium. Maybe week 5 or 6. I don't think it's going to happen right off the bat, of course. But just to see Tank Dell, who played for the U of H Cougs, he's staying in Houston. The 713 connection. If that is not marketed correctly, the Houston Texans have failed the city of Houston. I just want to throw that out there. Like, honestly, I'm going to email somebody and say, hey, whenever y'all do this market video, I need to be somewhere in the video. Just, in the corner. And whenever they do the 713, I could just put a grill in. I'm going to put a grill in. Yeah. Yeah. Y'all see it. The Houston Rockets. I'm sorry. I was finna. But that's the jersey number highlights right now.
Born and raised on the H. You gotta love it, man. You gotta love it.
Look, and see what time it is?
7:30.
Let's have a good Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a good Friday.
Hey, speaking of Good Friday, later on today, the Houston Texans will kick off their rookie mini camp. So we will have an opportunity to see CJ Stroud and Tank Dell, maybe the first of many 713 connections. I might as well get used to saying that, which knowing the Houston Texans, we're probably going to start the season off with a 10-13 connection. And then by the time 7 get it, we're going to be saying, why is 13 a healthy scratch? But hopefully we ain't got to deal with that this season. But rookie minicamp will start later on today. We're definitely going to provide you guys with some good content from that. Cannot wait to see these rookies in their Houston Texans jerseys for the very first time.
Yeah. Thank you guys for checking out today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. As always, be sure to check us out on YouTube under the name Locked On Texans. We appreciate you guys each and every day. Subscribe, like, and comment. We'll get to the comments. Let's do the comments on Monday. We had a lot of interesting comments, so we instead of doing it for today, we'll switch it up, do it on the next pod unless something big happens. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Texans and follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12.
And as always, I'm your host, Cody M. Davis. Please remember to follow me on Twitter at CodyDavis_24. Once again, that's Cody, COTYDAVIS_24. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.